Hi, today I'm going to be talking about VR headsets for seniors, and this is based on some of my own personal experiences. Just to get started, I wanted to say that some people may have a medical condition that would prohibit them from using a VR headset, virtual reality headset. And if you have any doubt about that, consult your doctor. You never force anyone to try on a VR headset that does not feel comfortable using one, okay? So I just want to put that out front because some people will not be able to use these things. So as I said, I want to talk about some of my own personal experiences with the VR headset. Since I'm in my mid-60s, I thought it would also be a good time to walk through some of the expectations and watch-outs for people that we aren't in our teens anymore or 20s, and we just need to be careful about some of the ways we interact with virtual reality. So I've been playing with VR headsets off and on for about the past few years. And about 2 years ago, my son's bought a Samsung unit. I'll show you this one. Okay. And that needed to be connected to a PC, so it's got a cable to it. All right. And I played with that a little bit, and it was fun, but you had to be connected to a PC. And some of the other ones, more modern ones, you don't have to do that. So we'll talk about that in a bit here. But it was a fun thing to play with. So since then, I've had a chance to play with some that were standalone, the Oculus style, where you don't have to plug it in. These kind of are pretty easy to use. You just put them on, and the computer's inside of there, and the screens are inside. Everything is self-contained, and you don't have to be tethered all the time to a computer. You may have to at some point, but not all the time. So speaking of which, about 6 months ago, I bought this Meta Oculus Quest. I bought the Oculus Quest, okay, for my. I've been using it off and on since. So there's been some challenges, and that's some of the things I wanted to talk about using these things. Now, as you notice, when you get online and look at reviews of these things, it's usually very young people, and they're talking about all the wonderful games you can play and everything, and that's cool. That's neat. I'm glad it's out there because it is a fun thing to use. So that we're older, like I said, I'm 65. I wanted to share my experiences with other seniors. You know, that you may not be as familiar with this new technology and wanted a more realistic approach or more realistic information on what to expect, for people our age. Now, one thing I wanted to point out early on was that you don't have to stand up all the time to use the headsets. There's a lot of activities you can do and experiences you can do that are very enjoyable while you're sitting. So that might think that's a turnoff, but sitting down works very well. So this video is not about any recommendations for therapeutic VR use for the elderly or a recommendation for any particular VR headset. I just want to give you my own personal experiences. So why would you want to try a VR headset? So to start off, it's fun. It's something that's really a fun activity, keeps you moving. There's a lot of different variety of games and activities you can take part in. So you're immediately, as soon as you put this headset on, you're immediately taken out of your real environment and taken to a virtual environment. It could be anywhere. It could be anywhere on Earth or out in space, or a three-dimensional world that's imagined somehow, very surrealistic. So within this virtual reality, it's really is a 3D experience. It's three-dimensional. And if you not sure what that means, it means basically you perceive what you're looking at through this headset the same as you would your physical environment around you. So as opposed to a TV set or your cell phone, something like that, that screen is just flat and you're just looking at a two-dimensional image. So if I'm looking at my phone, all I'm seeing is this flat image. And for one thing, it's just a small area. Even a big screen TV is a relatively small area compared to what you see with your VR headsets. So I think gaming's an obvious thing for a lot of people. That's the thing you see online a lot. But I think for us older folks, I think some of the things that are really beneficial are things like the exercise programs. There's activities like yoga and dancing and some sports experiences. They're a great way to increase your physical activity and really enjoy yourself and feel like you're getting out of the house a little bit, especially in the wintertime. A lot of these are rhythm-based games, so I'll cover some of those a little bit later, but those are fun. They're more of like not quite dancing, but it is movements according to a certain beat, and that's a lot of fun. There are chat areas where you can chat with other people. You turn into basically an icon or a cartoon character that you will appear to other people, and you can go to different rooms and things and just talk about stuff. So I will caution you that a lot of these rooms are not moderated, so you might be exposed to something that's inappropriate as far as language or some inappropriate conversations. But a lot of times, most people, I think, will be pretty civilized, and depending on the group you find, should work out well and can be fun. And a lot of people actually meet online friends that way, not to be weird or anything, but if you find a group of people that you enjoy talking to, you can definitely meet up again online. You don't have to meet in person or anything, and that's something that a lot of people like doing as well. So one of the more unusual activities are experiences you can have with these headsets is a musical or a performance of some sort. It's a fun thing to see. So concerts and musical acts, they can be very engaging in your face. It's basically, it's better than the front row. You can be on the stage with them, and it's just an incredible experience. You wouldn't necessarily have to be on stage. This depends on how they videoed or recorded the performance. So like concerts are, like I said, are a lot of fun. There's dance floor performances. So if you like dance, you could see ballet type things or more esoteric type dancing. You might be in the middle of a room with performers, and that could be a band or it could be some sort of a club or something with people dancing. That's a cool thing to experience. So some of the things available to do would be to tour famous and exotic places. So I've been to Paris and I've been to the pyramids of Egypt, the rock buildings of Petra in Jordan, just all over the place. So that's been a lot of fun. So it depends on how they videotape. I call it videotaping. I'm not sure what the process is called, but it is 3-dimensional, and you can look around. If you're standing underneath the Eiffel Tower, you can look up into the tower and you can look all around the legs, and maybe if the videographer has moved around, you'll be moving around with them. So that's a pretty cool experience. There's movies available as well, and so most of those are short films that are specifically focused on the 3-dimensional concept of it, so you can really get a feel for something that's maybe eerie. There was a love story I saw, which was a lot of fun. It was in Paris. It was in French, but they had subtitles. It was kind of an interesting 20-minute at the most. I think it was 15 to 20 minutes, and it was just kind of an entertaining short story. So the things about these headsets is they're very immersive. You can look in all directions. So like when you're looking around the room, you see your couch and your TV and your spouse and everything. But when you put these things around you, like I said before, you can suddenly be at the bottom of the sea or floating in space, really anywhere that the developer wants to take you. And so the experience is really different from a 3D movie. So if you think about Avatar, where you see the dimensions, it's a 3D, but you only see it on the screen. With the headset, there's no edges of the screen. You are actually in the environment. So that was a lot of the fun things about the VR headset, but you need to consider too why you may not want to try a headset. Start off primarily is going to be your medical and health concerns. I think seizures, there's going to be flashing lights, rapid images, a lot of movement and things. Some people will be very susceptible to getting a seizure from something that experience. It's very visual and it's very in your face, so that could be a problem for some people. One big item that comes up is motion sickness. So depending on the content, many, well, if not most people, will experience motion sickness at some point. And it's something like a concert or something probably won't be an issue because you're generally sitting still looking at the show. But some movies and games with a lot of movement, like flying through space or if you're on a roller coaster, can be really disoriented. Even some of the walking type activities can cause motion sickness. So when I say motion sickness, can really be debilitating. I've gotten it a few times, and it's not like if you're on a boat and you're feeling kind of motion sickness and then you get off the shore and it settles down pretty quick. With these headsets, as soon as you feel that you're getting motion sickness, you really need to stop right away because it can go on for several hours if it's bad enough. So that is a watch out. I think that's becoming more recognized as a real problem with the headsets. So the content developers are beginning to pay more attention to it, and there's actually settings they're starting to put into the game or activities that kind of settle some things down, so you're not moving around in a way that would cause you to get that motion sickness. One area is the stability. So if you're standing up with this headset, sometimes you might lose sense of reality, obviously, but you might have a loss of balance. And so, like I said, if you're standing up, that could be a real issue. So when you're starting, you probably always want to start using something like this while you're sitting down until you get used to the whole experience. Another watch out why you may not want to use it is because you lose a sense of your surroundings because you don't have contact with the room or the people in your area anymore. One time I was playing, it was called The Office or something like that with the grandkids. And so we were walking through the office and it was kind of a cartoonish setting. And I saw a chair and I just was thinking, for some reason, I thought, I'm going to sit down for a second. And I actually started to reach over for the chair and I realized, oh my gosh, there's not a chair there. And I almost sat down in it. So there's kind of things like that you need to be aware of that you can kind of misjudge or fools you about what the environment's like. On the other side, it might be you're moving your hands around in open space and you're playing a game and you move around and all of a sudden, whack, you hit the coffee table or whack, you hit your spouse. So speaking of which, there is a chance of injuries. So you always want to be aware of yourself and others. You can like I said, injure other people or yourself. You can break or knock over objects in the room. It's important to have appropriate areas to work with if you're playing with anything with movement, which is going to be, you're going to have some movement with most of these things. So one watch out is going to be a PC connectivity issue. On some of these headsets, there's a PC would be required with the headset to set it up. And on this one I was just showing you, this older Samsung unit, this one did require a tether all the time. So you always had this cable plugged into the computer. And that's something that, like I said, can be a distraction or annoying. A lot of these, most of them will need a hookup on some level at some point, but like with the Oculus, for example, you don't need to have it hooked up to a computer all the time, which is nice. So it's a newer technology, so keep this in mind. So you might want to wait. You might think in terms of the lines of how PCs were like in the early 90s. You're going to expect a lot of improvements and pricing coming down, over the next few years. So today's models, they may become obsolete sooner than you would expect. One of the challenges to consider before you get into this is eyeglasses can be very challenging. So two things. One is when you put your glasses in the headset, assuming they fit, the focal length of the Oculus, at least on this one, the Oculus Quest 2, is about 1.3 meters, or it's a little bit over 4 feet. So basically, if you need glasses to see clearly at, we'll say 4 feet, you're going to need glasses to see clearly on the headset. So that's something to think about. So you can wear glasses with the headset, and I've done that. Especially if you have several pairs of glasses, you might have to look around the house and see if you have one that's the right prescription and will actually fit into the headset. And we'll look at that later on here. That does work, but they do fog up a little bit. I think that's a little more of a hassle with wearing glasses in there. There are prescription lenses that are available, and that's actually what I'm using. I don't know if I can show that here or not, but they've actually snapped in. I'll pull them out later so you can see how that works. But those are just, see how it turns on? Turns on when you pick up the unit. But it is an added expense, but it does make things a world of difference. So when I put this on without my glasses, I see super clear, and I don't have any issues with it fogging up or anything like that. I have progressive lenses, so depending on where you're looking through the lens, that could throw off your focus as well. And that's why it's nice to have a dedicated lens with these things. So these things can get expensive. Price is something, cost associated with them is something you need to consider as well, especially when you consider the relative amount of time you spend with it. Some of the peripheral items like cables, headset batteries, etc., new glasses with snap-in lenses or whatever, they can all be additional unexpected expenses. So it could become an expensive paperweight if you lose interest in it down the road. So just keep that in mind. And finally, one thing to maybe not you to get one or maybe to think about holding off is that creative content is still developing. There might be a very limited selection of the things that you enjoy in particular. So you might want to wait until there's more content available. But then again, I'd suggest getting online, looking at YouTube, seeing what's out there. More and more stuff's becoming available. So over time, if you like a certain niche of material, that'll expand over time.